Hello, everyone. Good evening and a very warm welcome to all the guests on Zoom and on Facebook who have joined us on this wonderful channel, Glyphs. Stay with us as we get you acquainted with the ancient world of the Vedas and the ancient art of Bharatnatyam. To the audience, we will be recording this program for quality purposes. Glyphs essentially means the representation of a character. And what better way there is to identify what a person truly is than to observe what he loves from within him. That's why the name Glyphs. It also stands for being a symbol that represents something beyond the face value. And so, to highlight what we wish to do, we have chosen three symbols or three glyphs to represent what the concept is all about. These symbols are what you saw in the logo. They stand for Create, Connect, and Express, or CCE, like we love to say, hashtag Passion Matters. Glyphs aims to be a platform where you indulge in, to identify the passion created within you, connect with each other, and openly and ingenuously express your thoughts and passions. Now, as to why we started this channel. All of you have that one thing in your life that makes you really, really happy. We might call it a liking, a talent, a desire, or even a passion. It is that one thing that is completely unique to us. It can be that you love to sing or play an instrument. You could be passionate about photography, painting, doodling, or something as different as stone balancing. This might be something that you are not necessarily doing as your work. In fact, it is better if you have a passion that helps you unwind and enjoy your own company. The reason why we thought to create this channel was so that we could all become a part of a community of people that are bound together by mutual love and respect for all kinds of passions. It is meant to encourage us to keep pursuing our passions, and it is meant to have a group of people who see, learn, and appreciate the things that you do. And it is also an avenue where you can find out about the many, many different kinds of activities that could potentially become your passion. And that's exactly what we are here to do. Create, connect, and express. So again, namaskar, and thank you for joining us on this Sunday evening for the 10th episode of our channel, Glyphs. Join me, your host, Kavita Avasthi, for a journey back in time, a journey into the old, rich, ancient culture of India, the oldest sacred scriptures, the Vedas, and the oldest dance form, Bharatnatyam. To all the guests who have joined us here on Zoom and on Facebook, we would love to hear your comments and your thoughts. Please share them freely on the chat box. For our guests on Zoom, please remember to select panelists and attendees when you're giving out your thoughts so that everyone knows what you're thinking about. Also, if you do have any questions for our experts or our guests, please put them in the chat box and we will be answering those questions on our FB page. Vedas, the oldest layer of Sanskrit literature and the oldest scriptures of Hinduism. Rigved, Yajurved, Samaved, and Atharvaved, composed by Ved Vyasa. This Vedic literature is considered to be the scripture of Indians. Which religion appropriate conduct or dharma, balance between religion and the society, whether these concepts are still valid, what are the concepts in our life which have relevance in the Vedic age. Today, we have Swanand Umranikar, who will help us get answers to some of these questions. Swanand is working in the field of employability and operational excellence through organizational coaching and life coaching. Swanand has always been passionate about Indology, and this led him to do a master's in Indology from Tirak, Maharashtra Vidyapith. So, Swanand, we would want you to share with our
Yes, sir.
audience what drove you to this passion and now how you are making use of this passion. So, Swanand, over to you.
Thank you, Kavita. So I have been coaching organizations and organizational leaders along with the teams on operational excellence since 2012-ish timeframe. While doing these coaching conversation, I also got an opportunity to have live coaching interventions with some of these people, and I started learning on different counseling techniques to do so. During that journey, I came across lectures from Devdatta Patnaik on mythological connections that he make on corporate concepts as well as life lessons, and that really struck me. I tried using some of these concepts from Indian mythology, Vedic literature, and Puranas during my coaching experiences and life coaching interventions. And that really worked well because people were able to connect, people were able to resonate with these concepts, and it became easy for them to understand it through the stories. So I started reading more about it and took it to the next level, as you said, that I did my master's in Indology. That was kind of a completely different experience because it changed the perception about all these ancient scriptures. It helped me find out answers to some of those questions that typically we keep on asking, that why we do what we have been asked to do.
All right. So, also, Swanand, we would like to know what are the basics of the Vedas and how can we relate it to our changing times in which we are today?
Sure. So to answer this question, let's divide the answer in two parts. So in the first part, from the basics of Vedas, we typically know at very high level. The Ved word itself means knowledge. So according to the scholars, this Shashvat Gyan or the eternal Vedic knowledge has been built around 5,000 years ago and was transitioned generation over generation just by telling and listening. Due to this tradition, Ved are also known as Shruti, which means listening. This vast literature is not built by someone alone. So there were a lot of contributions made by very learned people, which we typically call as Rushi. So the meaning of Rushi is the person who saw Rucha from the Vedas for the first time. Now you mentioned about Veda Vyas. So Krishna Dvaipayan, the son of Parashar Rushi, collected all this knowledge and organized it. And that's where he has been called as Veda Vyas. The meaning is the one who organized the Vedas. Rigved, Yajurved, Samaved, Atharvaved are treated as our Dharma Grantha for Hinduism. Generally, we know that these literatures are divided into Samhita, Brahman texts, Aranyak, Upanishads. The word Samhita is broken as Sam and Dha, which means to put together. We can relate this to today's world's screenplays. So in the screenplay, we typically have collection of details about the dialogues, the scripts, the properties that need to be used, who are the characters who are going to be part of that play, how is the entry exit going to be. So we have all these collection in one place. Similarly, the Samhita of a Ved is a collection of mantra, prayers, ruchas, and suktas. The Brahman text is focused on discussions on God, goddesses, or Vedic period details that are expected to be performed during the ritual of yajna. We can connect this to the today's world's recipe book, right? So in the recipe book, we have ingredients details, we have how to do stuff, what needs to be done, what should be avoided, all those tips and scientific information. So this is what the Brahman text tells us. The third part of the Vedic literature is Aranyak and Upanishad text. The Aranyak text is outcome of contemplations done by rishis by going to the forest or jungle. While the Upanishad, we can say that it's the knowledge learned by sitting near to the Guru. The word Upanishad is made up of Upanisada, which means to go and sit close. This is one on one knowledge transfer from Guru to Shishya, and that's the reason it is also called as Rahasya Vidya, which means a knowledge that acquired in private. The root of all this is in the word of Rucha, which comes from Dhatu Rucha. The meaning of Rucha Dhatu is to praise. Now, because of this, Rucha becomes the base unit for all these scriptures. From the grammatical structure point of view, each Rucha has three parts in it. The first part, which is the Rushi, which means who chanted that Rucha. The second part is the Chanda, which means how that Rucha is required to be chanted. And the third part is the Devata, which means the god or goddess for which the Rucha has to be chanted. The combination of many ruchas decide one sukta, and combination of many sukta decide one mandal. This is how each these ancient texts have been put together. So just to give you an idea about the size that we are talking, the Rigved Samhita that we have available today for our learning has got 10 mandal, 1027 sukta, and 10,580 rucha in it. And we are just talking about one Samhita from one Ved. So we can imagine how big that text should be. Each Ved is focused on specific knowledge. We find knowledge about Yajna Dharma, Dharmacharan, prayers for various deities in Rigved. Whereas the word Yajus, from which Yajurved is indicated, it means Yajna or Yag, the ritual of that time. The knowledge about various procedures, roles played by different people in Yajna are found in Yajurved. Samaved consists of knowledge about methods of how these mantras to be chanted, which matters a lot when you are performing yajna. The melodious chanting of these mantras is also called as samagan. The core of Vedic Dharma was yajna. This ritual was performed to praise different deities, different gods, to worship them, and to ask for prosperity. We see that many of the god and goddesses that we worship today are not that important during the Vedic period. I would say they were not the primary deities. The god and goddesses that were primary deities during Vedic period are actually the personification or human forms of the natural events and phenomena. For example, we see Usha, which means time before sunrise, or Vayu, which means wind, Nisha, that is night, or Parjanya, that is rain, as deities that those people were worshipping. The most important deities, though, during the Rigved time period were Agni and Indra. There are around 200 suktas of Agni and 250 sukta of Indra, which we can find in Rigved. Agni being the useful phenomenon that time for everyday's life, that deity was closer to people's heart. And that is reflected when we see the first Rucha of Rigved being devoted for Agni. Indra was worshipped as a leader, a warrior, or a hero. He was personified as a handsome god who kills enemies with his Vajra. We find names of different enemies and stories around how Indra defeated them. Some of them are like Vrutra, Shamba, Vala, Pani, for getting water, for getting sunshine, to betterment of the humans who are praying Indra. One story also describes that mountains used to fly and Indra cut their wings to make them stationary. So now, if we compare this with today's mythological TV serials that we see, we probably will not believe it just because today we see Indra in a completely different form on television.
True.
He is the person who is running behind something, a womanizer. At times, he is not sure how people are going to snatch his Indra Pada and helping or asking for help from gods.
Wow,
So
that's
some of the
amazing.
yeah. So some of the beliefs from the Vedic age are still continuing. For example, we still have a concept of sin or papa or swarga, where there are different ways of praying gods, but the reason for that praise still remains the same. So we can make several such connections
Yes.
from the changing times.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow, I think those are some really amazing facts of the olden age. Audience, I think it's time to come back to the present age and let's explore the world of Vedas. It's time for our quiz. Be ready to give your answers. Again, a reminder to all our guests on FB as well to participate. And for the people on Zoom, remember to select panelists and attendees when you're giving your answers. All right, starting with the first question. There are four Vedas. Like we said, the Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvaveda. Which out of these is the oldest Veda? I want you to put your answers in the chat box. Rigveda, yes, of course, Shilpa, immediately. Nirmohi, yes, that's right. The Rigveda is the oldest Veda. It is also the oldest Hindu holy scripture. Moving on to the next one, I'm actually going to contradict my first question, and I'm going to tell you that initially there were only three Vedas. Which was the Veda which was added last? Only after Veda Vyasa wrote it down did the mention of the fourth Veda come in. Which was the fourth one that got added? Okay, no, it is not the Samaved. Yes, Abhijit, that is right. It is the Atharva Ved, which got added later on. Okay. It also gives an important source of information about the practicalities of our religion. That's the Atharva Ved. Now, there are copies of the Rigveda and the Atharva Ved, which are known to be the oldest surviving copies in the world. Where can you find them in India? Okay, I'm going to give you a little hint here. In India, you can find them in Pune, Apli Pune. Where in Pune? You can find copies of the Rigveda and Atharva Ved in Pune. Where in Pune? Chala, Google naka karu. I need the answers quickly. Yes, Shilpa, that is right. Kaustubh, yes, the answer is the Bhandarkar Oriental Institute in Pune. That is where you will find the copies of this. This institute was founded in the year 1917. They have over 125,000 books and over 29,500 manuscripts. Okay, for the last question, since we're talking about so much of Sanskrit, I want you to give me, I don't know how many of you are aware, even today, there is a Sanskrit newspaper which is published regularly. I want the name of that Sanskrit newspaper. What is the name of the Sanskrit newspaper? Yes, Sapurva, there is one newspaper which is regularly published since the year 1970. Yes, Kaustubh Vaime, that is right. The name of the newspaper is Sudharma. It is published from Mysore since the year 1970. In fact, there is also an e-paper which is available, which is called sudharma.epapertoday.com. In fact, I also think a lot of us are not aware that the state language of Uttarakhand even today remains Sanskrit. So moving on, back to you. Which are some of the concepts of the Vedas which are perceived differently today? Swanand, we would like you to share this with our audience.
Sure, Kavita. So there are some concepts which we saw in the last answer, and there are some concepts which we still use but have been perceived probably differently today. The change in this perception could be because of many reasons, but I think personally this is because of the context of dharma has got changed over a period of time. So one classic example is the word upas or fast. We use this word upas very often because many of us keep fast on various occasions, on various dates, for on various deities. The origin of this word upas we find in Brahman text. The original word is not upas, but it is upavas. Upa means near and vans means to stay. So it is mentioned that one who is going to perform the ritual of yajna is going to be at the yajna shala. So typically the yajna used to be performed in this place called yajna shala, which used to be away from the day-to-day living of that person. This person is known as yajman, by the way. Most of you must be knowing that. Now, the belief was once the preparation of the yajna is started, the deities or the god or goddesses or whom the yajna is being performed, they get to know about it and they come and stay in the yajna shala. So the Yajman has to stay with them to accompany them till the entire process is over. Now, being yajna away from the regular home, naturally the person is not going to eat the same food that is being prepared at home. Naturally, he is not going to do the same daily chores. He is going to behave a little differently in the yajna. And that's where it starts that the upavas has to be performed differently. Now, we use the word upavas in a different form, and we also have changed the meaning of it now because the context has changed over a period of time. The second interesting change we can infer is about the words that we typically use uh, to show the belief in God. We use a word astik to show that somebody who believes in God, and nastik who is not the God's believer or a theist. Whereas when we go back to the Vedic age, these two words we see that they have been used to represent people who believe in Vedas and people who don't believe in Vedas. Now the question is how there will be people who don't believe in Vedas during Vedic age. So the answer to that question is it is possible because there might be some tribes that were local tribes here and they probably were having their local deities being worshipped. So the Astik and Nastik also is a completely changed concept over a period of time. One funnier concept which I typically mention is Vedic times has a complete different meaning for the word or the ingredient soma. These days, we use soma rasa or somapana in context of alcohol consumption. Whereas in Vedic text, we separate out these two. Soma and Sura are completely different. They have complete different meaning. They have complete different connotation. Soma was an important ingredient for successful yajna. Soma rasa is an extract or a juice of a plant, and there is a defined process of how to extract this juice before yajna, and the importance of that soma rasa is being described in many suktas in the scripture. So these are some of the things that we have perceived differently. There might be multiple like that, many more, but I just thought of sharing
Right.
these three.
Yes, I think this is going to shake up a lot of the people who are queuing out in the lockdown outside the wine stores. So that's the meaning of Som for you. Moving on to the last question. Are there any concepts from the Vedas that can be directly related to the concepts or knowledge of our daily life as we are living it today? Swanand, over to you for that.
Certainly, Kavita. So there are some concepts which I believe we use today's world either directly or indirectly. So the first one I would like to talk about is about the farmer community, especially in the Marathi news or Marathi newspaper. We see a word called Bali Raja to identify a farmer. Now, why a farmer is called Bali Raja? So the origin of that lies in the word Bali. So that word Bali is not the word the way we pronounce it today. It was pronounced as Bali. Bali means worship. Now, this is the worship of the king who is protecting his people from invasions or any other problems that they are facing. And in return, the people of that kingdom are worshipping the king not only as a supreme commander, but also to make his living in form of Bali. So that Bali is a worship which is nothing but in a form of some tax that needs to be paid. Now, most of the community is the farmer community who is going to pay this Bali or who is going to be performing this ritual of Bali. And that's where that Bali is connected to farmer. So over a period of time, we have probably changed the word from Bali to Bali, and now farmer has become Bali Raja. The another connection is about right to education. Now we talk about right to education. Everybody has to be learned. Everybody has to learn. They should have the right. But in Vedic text, we see that it was by default available. The reason for that was the Vedic Dharma concept was everybody who is going to be born will have three debts to pay. So the first debt is Deva Runa, second is Rushi Runa, and third is Pitru Runa. The Rishi Runa can be paid only by learning and by teaching. So if you have to pay the debts before you die, you have to learn and you have to teach somebody. So automatically, those who are going to learn will get learned, will be educated. The third area, which is kind of sensitive, but I think I should talk about it, is I personally feel that the woman empowerment was also one thing which we can find very well defined in Vedic text. So some Vedic Sukta suggest us that the marriages were not done early. They were done at a proper age, provided they were done at a physically appropriate age of the woman. The women were allowed to make decisions on whether they are going to get married or whether they want to do adhyapan, which is teaching others. We see a lot of examples. We see examples like Gargi, Maitreyi, who lived their life as sages. The
Right.
women were allowed to work in various fields as well as to choose what is of their interest.
Nice. Thank you.
After marriage, the woman was able to get more dignified position, a respectable position of Mata. And during the Yajna or the ritual of Yajna and Yag, there was completely different status given to women. We see that they have been given task in exactly same context with the men. The yajna is not considered to be successful if the yajaman does not have his wife sitting next to him. So I think that's the way we see the connections in today's day of
Nice.
life.
Very interesting. I hope all the women here have heard that. Women empowerment. We always talk about it, and that's a wonderful point of view from Swanand. So, famous Indologists have actually said this, that Veda means knowledge, and that the Vedas are really an ocean of knowledge. The Vedas are the most rewarding and the most elevating book that can be possible in today's world. Thank you so much for the wonderful shares, Swanand. I really think a lot of things about the Vedas you have cleared out to our audience today. On behalf of our team and the audience, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you, Kavita, and thanks a lot for GlyphsCCE to have this platform open for people to come and talk about their passion. I think you guys are rocking.
Thank you. It's wonderful to have you with us. So, audience, before we move on to our next performance of the day, over to Tanushri, who can guide you on how you can become part of this channel. Tanushri, over to you.
Thank you so much, Kavita. So I hope all of you are having a wonderful evening today. This was quite a different topic, wasn't it? Bringing something that is so ancient and then connecting it with our daily lives right here today. So for me also, I personally enjoyed this topic quite a lot. So like we say that when you are passionate about something, that passion is something that kind of unveils the magic. So passion doesn't need to be very fancy. It can, or of course, it is the best in its simplest form. So think of the people that are around you. There are so many of our friends, our relatives, our siblings, colleagues who have this innate ability to create this kind of magic. Then what is stopping us? Let us all come together and create a community of like-minded people here on this platform called GlyphsCCE. How to do that? We have divided the performances into three verticals. That is one, which is knowledge sharing, which you just saw. Another is performance at the static arts. And the third is our interactive engagements, which all of you enjoy through the different quizzes that Kavita so very nicely she researches and does for all of us. So these are the three ways. Now listen to me very carefully. Stone balancing, dance movement therapy, fish massage, tying knots, playing the keyboard, dramatics, and stories of someone who lives and works for the jungles of India. Do these topics sound exciting to you? If your answer to that is a yes, well, these are some of the performances that have been lined up for the weeks that are coming forward on this Glyphs Online CCE channel. As Kavita has already shared with us the purpose behind starting this channel and what exactly to expect out here, let me share with you three ways on how you can be a part of this growing community. A simple way is to join us every week, as all of you do here on Thursday at 7 and on Sunday at 5 p.m. This is, of course, a free channel where we showcase these different passions that people have. And the details of the updates of all of this will be posted on our social media. So keep watching that for sure. A simpler way is to join by sharing about GlyphsCCE to your family, your friends, associates, and every person or any person that you can possibly think of. So now within 1 month of launch, like we've shared with you, we have reached 21 countries, and we actually even calculated the number of cities that we have reached, which is a total of 73 cities across the globe. So that is where Glyph stands in just 30 days from its launch. And the simplest way is, of course, to connect with us is by being a participant on this channel. So if you or anyone you know would like to be a part of this, let us know. So of course, as we always do, let's have a quick poll. Aniruddha, if you could just launch the poll for us. Yes. So your passion is what got you here. What is your next step going to be? So the first option is I would like to watch every episode of GlyphsCCE. Second is I would like to spread the message of hashtag passion matters. The third is I would like to perform or talk about my passion to an audience of GlyphsCCE. And of course, the fourth is I would like to refer a friend or a relative to perform or talk about their passion on this episode. Now, the best thing about this poll is you don't need to make only one choice. If you have multiple choices, you're please free to do that. So I think I'll give you another 10 seconds to vote. If you have more than one vote, please do that. All right then. So thank you so much, Aniruddha. Would you show us the results, please? That is fantastic. You know, a very nice thing that is happening these days is we've had a lot of people who would like to come and watch every episode. And now we love to see the bottommost poll is where they would like to refer a friend or relative. That is the percentage, or that is the option that is getting the most votes. So most certainly, please drop in a line in the chat box for us, and we would certainly get in touch with you. Thank you for giving your preference and for being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode as you've been enjoying so far. Over to you, Kavita.
Thank you so much, Tanushri. Thank you, audience, for participating in the poll. Moving on. Bharatnatyam, the oldest classical dance tradition of India. Bha, meaning bhav or emotion. Ra, meaning rag or rhythm. Ta, meaning tal. And Natyam, meaning dance. They say that dancing is like dreaming with your feet. Taking us into her world of dreams is our guest, Namrata Khobragade. She started learning Bharatnatyam when she was only in the 3rd standard, and after a rigorous preparation of 1.5 years, completed her Arangetram when she was in the 10th standard under the guidance of her gurus, Neha Chachoria Bedi and Vindisha Pujari. She is now training under Ketki Shenolikar. It is also interesting to know that she loves bike riding and was the only female bike rider amongst a group of over 3,000 riders in India last year. So moving on to her first performing Bharatnatyam, Shiv Kautavam. It is a description of Shiva or Shankara, किंवा ज्याला आपण म्हणतो शंकर वर्णन. The river Ganga flowing through the matted hair, the damru in one hand and the fire in the other. He shows equality between the male and the female in the Ardhanareshwar form. The Tandava and the Lasya form of dance is attributed to Lord Shiva and Lord Parvati respectively. This dance represents the Rag Mohana and will be performed in the Rupak Tal. So Namrata, over to you for the first performance. Beautiful, Namrata. Thank you so much, audience. I really think they deserve a lot of applause because they are working. They are displaying all this from their homes. They have taken the care and the hard work to get all this to us from their houses. Moving on to the next performance is Shringar Padam. Padam is a type of musical form in which the dancer shows bhakti, which is emotion, or shringar, which is love. This is normally a little slow, with more of graceful movements involving hand gestures, eyes, and face rather than footwork. In this dance, we shall see Radha looking around everywhere for Krishna, asking the trees, fish, and even the deer if they have seen him, and she finally finds him playing the flute. This is composed by her Maharaj Swati Tirunal and based on the rag Brindavan Sarang. So over to you for Shringar Padam, Namrata. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you, Namrata. Like Ashwini, one of our guests, has said, yes, this is the most difficult part of the dance to be able to express through your eyes and your face. Beautifully done, Namrata. Thank you so much. Audience, the cells of our feet have been activated. Now it's time to activate the cells of our brains as well. Get ready for the quiz. A reminder to our people on Facebook also to please join in for the answers. The first one, we'll take an easy one. Which place in India has the Bharatnatyam dance originated from? The state, yes. If you can tell me the district, even better. Kaustubh, we were ready with the answer even before I finished. Yes, that is right. Tamil Nadu. Does anyone know the district? It is from the Tanjore district in Tamil Nadu. This dance was originally performed by Devdasis in the Thanjavur temple. Okay. All dances that we have seen here, not only this dance, all the dances use hand gestures to depict a lot of things. What are these hand gestures called? Yes, Mandar. Yes, Neha. Apurva. Wow, that was quick. Yes, they are called mudras. There are two types of mudras. Asamukta mudra, which is one-handed, single-handed, and samukta hasta, which is two-handed. Okay, now a slightly more difficult one. There are 5 earth elements as we know it: fire, earth, water, metal, and wood. Bharatnatyam is associated with which of these earth elements? It represents one earth element. Which one is that? Come on, quickly. No, it's not water, Apurva. Yes, Manoj, that is right. The answer is fire. Bharatnatyam is associated with fire because they say that the movements of the dance during this form resemble fire. Okay, what you're going to see on the screen is a pic of Shiva. Shiva is the god of dance. And the mudra that you're going to see here is what we know as Natraj. This, of course, everybody is familiar with. Okay. Now, what you see here is that Shiva is standing on a small figure. Everyone knows that this figure is that of a Rakshas. What I want to ask you is, this Rakshas represents one emotion. Which is that emotion that this Rakshas represents? I know it's a tough one, but like I said, we need to activate the cells of our brain. Which is the emotion that this Rakshas activates? It's not fear, Apurva. Which is this? Which Shiva is known to. Tandav is the name of the nritya. It's the dance which he's showing. But what is that emotion which is associated with this? It's not anger. I'm going to give this one to you. It is tamas, or it is ignorance, which is why we say that Shiva is also called the destroyer of ignorance, destroyer of tamas. All right, moving on to the last performance, which is called Tilana. This dance is usually the last dance to be performed. The host of the Tilanas include a lot, most of them include the word Tilanas in the lyrics of its composition. Some of the postures of Tilana are so beautiful that they can be seen on the walls of South Indian temples as well. This Tilana is composed by Lalgudi Jairam and based on the rag Yaman Kalyan. So over to you for the last part of the performance. Thank you, Namrata. Thank you so much. They say that there are no shortcuts to happiness. There are actually many shortcuts to happiness, and dancing is one of them. Pure happiness and pure joy. Thank you so much, Namrata, for these wonderful performances.
Thank you.
A special thank you to both our guests today, Swanand, who is into operational and life coaching and has done Indology and, of course, studied the Vedas as his passion. Namrata, who is doing BSc in mathematics and has absolutely mesmerized us by her graceful dance. Thank you to both of you on behalf of our audience and on behalf of Team Glyphs. The show on the stage can never become a box office hit without the support of a stronger team working back end. I would especially like to applaud Aniruddha Bhide, who handles the technical side of GlyphsCCE. He manages the Data Analytics Center in Pune University. And of course, Ankita and Mangesh from DW Place Solutions, who handle our social media promotions. And a special thanks to Salil, Tanushri, and Gayatri, the founders of this channel Glyphs, who every week put in endless hours of discussions at the back end to make Glyphs CCE a reality. Last but not the least, thank you to our ever-supported audience from India and from across the globe for being with us here today. I am your host, Kavita Avasthi, signing off for today. My team and I shall be waiting to see you on our next episode on Thursday at 7 p.m. Till then, take care of yourself, stay safe, goodbye, and have a lovely week ahead. Atul and Anjali, we would request you to please wait back. And all our loyalists, please wait. Please join us backstage. Please do not leave. For the people on Zoom and for FB. Shabir, Anagha, Rachna, Abhijit, Kaustub, Sampath, Mandar, Parag, Pallavi, Shilpa. We have Manisha Shah, Smita Chorankar, Sangeeta Talgatti, Ashwini Paranspe, Amit Jaide, Himangi Vartak, Lakshmi Kant, Rajas, Nirmohi, and of course, if I have missed out anybody else, please do wait with us. And like I said, Anjali and Atul Zavekar, a special request from our team, please do wait sometime.